Hey, Ag Teacher Thoughts here. I figured I'd shoot just another video while I'm working on correcting the error in my baskets, which you can see in a previous video, kind of why I'm having to go through and do that. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is some of you are going to see this shirt that I'm wearing, and you're going to want to know what in the world does that mean. So it says shop rules on the front, and on the back of that, there are actually all of the rules to my shop. Now, I've mentioned many times before that I came from industry. I came from a machine shop. I did things a little bit different. I didn't do the teacher training program. You can check out the video that says why I became an ag teacher. That'll talk a little bit more about that. So, one of those things about coming from a factory is I learned that there's things that we've done as a culture for promoting safety that have become so common that they don't have any impact anymore. So if you go into any major factory, you're going to find a poster somewhere and it's going to say safety first. And you're going to go, okay, well, that's, whatever. You're supposed to ask yourself the question, if I'm doing something, the first thing you should ask is it safe? Or am I conducting myself in a safe manner? Or we come to work and we work, the first thing we focus on is safety. Well, that's all good and well, but again, that same message has been out there so long that people have gotten accustomed to it. And it's almost to the point that it doesn't really have a meaning. It's just kind of a poster that's out there. So when I started teaching, I decided I was going to do things a little bit different. So in the machine shop, we kind of had a deal that, if you injured yourself, you were supposed to tell your supervisor and they were going to go and do some paperwork. And, nobody in management in a machine shop ever wants to do paperwork. My last school, whose logo I am actually wearing on my hat, so yeah, I'm at my new school wearing a logo from my old school. Also wearing a t-shirt I designed at my old school, but don't tell my current students. But anyway, I came up with a new way of doing things, kind of out of what we talked about as a machine shop. My boss got accustomed to telling us that if we didn't get blood on the floor while we were working, then he didn't want to know about it because he didn't want to fill out paperwork for simply a Band-Aid, right? A tiny little scratch, a nick, an abrasion, something like that. So it kind of got said that or was kind of unspoken, but it was understood that the only time we needed to go tell him was if we got a wound that was bad enough that it was dripping. So if you think about it, with a wound, if it's serious enough that it is leaving your finger and it's dripping down onto the ground, then you need to do paperwork. So if you distill that idea down, well, this one was really messed up. Unless you got blood on the floor, you didn't need to tell the boss. Yeah, this one's a mess. So, what I got accustomed to telling my students, because my last school, I also had to fill out paperwork if I had a student that got an injury. So I got tired of filling out paperwork. My first school, we were working in an automotive shop, basically. And those of you that have ever done it, you've heard the phrase bloody knuckle syndrome. Let me tell you, if you're learning how to turn wrenches and you're new to it, you're going to bloody your knuckles, and it's going to be a constant, frequent thing. So I told my students, I'm like, hey, they're getting tired of me turning in paperwork every single day. It was taking me time every single day. A half hour of my time was saying, Johnny got a boo-boo, and he cut his finger and got a Band-Aid from me. Right? So I kind of made an executive decision that unless a kid had a wound that was dripping, and I wasn't going to worry about it. Right? I mean, literally, you would have to turn in paperwork if the kid got a paper cut, which is kind of bureaucracy and just bloated bureaucracy and just ridiculous. So I told the students, I was like, hey, if you don't get blood on the floor, it's not bad enough that it's dripping, we're not going to do paperwork. So that ended up turning into kind of almost like a joke. And I wrote a set of rules based around it, my shop rules. So it was no longer safety first, it was don't get blood on the floor. Okay? So we developed a whole culture around that, and I developed a series of kind of fun statements around it. So number one is don't get blood on the floor. Number two is no amputations. No, excuse me. Number two is no dying. Number three is no amputations. And number four is don't do anything that's bad enough to get us on the evening news. Because when you're teaching, that idea of any publicity is good publicity, oh, it's not a thing. So I think I have to rework this one totally. So anyway, I told my students, I'm like, these are the new rules. Don't get blood on the floor, no dying, no amputations, don't do anything to get us on the evening news. And my students really took to that, and it started to be a really fun thing for them. So fun enough, we went ahead and made a t-shirt, says shop rules, and then it has the shop rules on the back side. So as such, every good teacher has a side hustle to support his classroom. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I kind of like that t-shirt, or I'd like one, go ahead and leave me a message, and I will make arrangements to get you a t-shirt. They're 20 bucks plus shipping. Unfortunately, shipping's kind of expensive. It's almost honestly as much as the t-shirt, so I've tried to keep them cheap. T-shirts are also made by students at a school, so by supporting one school, you're actually supporting two. So if you'd like a t-shirt that says shop rules and then has the shop rules on it, something you want to wear to work, by all means. I gotta say this, buy my merch. Okay, and all the funds from that go directly to my FFA chapter now, and it helps fund what we do here at the school. Okay, so that's a little brief explanation of why my shirt says shop rules and has all sorts of stuff on the back side. And yeah, this isn't how I wanted to spend my Saturday, redoing work, but my fault really. I needed to check back in with them and I didn't, so I am now though. I'm double checking. All right, with that, I'll leave you with another video and see you later.